Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israel has committed genocide in Gaza, says UN Commission of Inquiry. Jerusalem categorically rejects the UN probe. Security tightened in Windsor Castle ahead of US President Donald Trump's state visit to the UK. Homes, roads washed away in Uttarakhand cloudburst. Flash floods devastate Himachal Pradesh. Prime Minister Modi assures all possible assistance. And Hollywood screen legend, director and activist Robert Redford passes away at 89. Tributes pour in. A United Nations Commission of Inquiry concluded its probe on Tuesday on Israel actions in Gaza, blaming Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other top officials for incitement. The UN report cites examples of the scale of the killings, aid blockages, forced displacement, and the destruction of a fertility clinic to back up its genocide finding, adding its voice to rights groups and others who have reached the same conclusion. Israel immediately said it categorically rejected the report, with the Foreign Ministry describing it as distorted and false, calling for the immediate abolition of this commission of inquiry. Israeli ambassador to the UN in Geneva called the report scandalous and fake, saying it had been authored by Hamas proxies.
Israel categorically rejects the libelous rant published today by this Commission of Inquiry. It spreads the malicious genocide narrative. The report diverges from the mandate of the Commission, yet again stressing their biased analysis. It has systematically dismissed Hamas's atrocities. Throughout the 72 pages of this paper that the COI presented, the COI promotes a narrative serving Hamas and its supporters in attempting to delegitimize and demonize the State of Israel.
United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk has condemned Israel's ground assault on Gaza City as utterly unacceptable, demanding an end to the carnage.
It's absolutely clear that this carnage must stop, and it has to stop at once. I can only think of what it means for women, for malnourished children, for people with disabilities if they are again attacked in this way. And I have to say, the only response to this is stop the carnage. It's also important. The whole world screams for peace. Palestinians, Israelis scream for peace. Everyone wants an end to this. And what we see is a further escalation, which is totally and utterly unacceptable.
Sweden on Tuesday called on its European Union partners to increase pressure on Tel Aviv after a UN Commission of Inquiry concluded that Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza.
As regards today's news about the attack on Gaza City, we from the Swedish side are extremely worried, and we have been very clear from the very beginning when these plans were presented that any change by force of territory would be a breach of international law. And we are extremely worried about the situation in Gaza, and we mean that we need to put more pressure on the Israeli government to let humanitarian aid in, but also on Hamas.
Spanish State Broadcaster Board voted on Tuesday to withdraw from the 2026 Eurovision Song Contest to be held in May in Vienna if Israel takes part in the event. Spain is the fifth country to make such a pledge after the Netherlands, Slovenia, Iceland and Ireland, the first of the so-called Big Five, a group that also includes Britain, Germany, Italy and France. These countries automatically qualify for the contest's final round. So Israel continued its offensive on the Gaza city on Tuesday, declaring that Gaza is burning. An Israeli Defense Forces official said that ground troops were moving deeper into the enclave's main city and that the number of soldiers would rise in the coming days to confront up to 3,000 Hamas combatants the IDF believes are still in the city. In launching the assault, Israel's government defied European leaders, threatening sanctions and warnings from even some of Israel's own military commanders that it could be a costly mistake. But Washington offered its apparent blessing, conveyed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Meanwhile, Israeli military issued evacuation orders for Yemen's Hodeidah port, saying that it will attack it in the coming hours. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani in Doha on Tuesday. This came after Israel's attack on Hamas's political leaders in Qatar last week drew widespread condemnation. Rubio called for Qatar to continue its role as a mediator between Israel and Hamas to reach a ceasefire in the Gaza war, saying that there was a very short window of time in which a deal could happen. Rubio was pessimistic about a ceasefire deal, but said Qatar was in a unique position to help. Qatar and the United States are on the verge of finalizing an enhanced defense cooperation agreement, Rubio said on Tuesday. Later, the U.S. Secretary of State departed for London after a brief stop in Doha. Next, news of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia unleashed a fresh wave of strikes across Ukraine. In Zaporizhia, a deadly barrage of rockets early Tuesday killed a 41-year-old man, injured at least 18 others, and set off multiple fires. Authorities say 10 apartment blocks and a dozen homes were damaged in the assault. Meanwhile, Moscow claims that its drones hit a gas distribution hub in Ukraine's Sumy, a facility it alleges was being used by military units. And in Kharkiv, another Russian drone left at least 4 people wounded after slamming into a building. NATO launched a new military mission on Friday called Eastern Sentry to protect Europe's eastern frontier after Russian drones crossed into Polish airspace last week. Latvia's President Edgars Rinkēvičs commented on the issue in a press conference.
Last week is something that I would say for me is very difficult to believe was accidental. If you have 19 plus drones flying into Poland, then, as we discussed actually with President Stubb, there can be a couple of explanations: intentional, incompetence, or both. And all of 3 options are scary, frankly.
In a related development, the Polish government will decide on submarine procurement this week, which will lead to the purchase of the first submarines by the end of the year. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said that the government will launch the Orca program, which will adopt a resolution that commits to purchasing submarines by the end of this year. The bids have been reviewed, and now the Polish government will decide who will be the program's partner.
We are all working together to enhance NATO's defensive capabilities. It must be strongly emphasized once again that these exercises, like the entire North Atlantic Alliance, are defensive in nature, and they are responsive to aggressive maneuvers on the other side of the border. There is no doubt about that. It is crucial for us that both potential adversaries and all allies see that we are prepared for action and at the most demanding level, and at the highest level of technical complexity.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Da Nang City in Vietnam has reopened sightseeing routes on the Son Tra Peninsula after a 2-year suspension over landslide risks. Visitors may explore by bike, motorbike or on foot, but self-trekking to restricted areas remains banned for safety and conservation. Chinese authorities have confirmed the discovery of a rare Qin dynasty inscription stone on the Qinghai Tibet Plateau. Found on the northern shore of Gyareng Lake in Qinghai province, it is the only known Qin-era engraved stone preserved at its original site. An ethnic community of Vietnam is preserving its unique cultural heritage by safeguarding their traditional stilt house, where community identity is passed down. Authorities are working together to protect these houses, seeing them as heritage. Vietnam Records Organization recognized a bonsai for its rare artistic form. The tree is an ancient rain tree bonsai shaped in the form of the golden turtle spirit. It was given a certificate for its unique shape and form. You're with us on DD India Live, still to come on the show. America's Trade Representative Brendan Lynch is in New Delhi as India and US re-engage in bilateral trade talks. Summer of 2025 was the hottest ever recorded for Spain. And fireworks and drones wrap up Papua New Guinea's Independence Day celebrations.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we decode HAL's bold gamble. Can the Sitara trainer transform into a combat fighter? We explain the Great Nicobar project, India's mega push at the Malacca Gateway. We reveal STAR, the supersonic target shaping India's missile mastery. We analyze the B-21 Raider, America's futuristic 6th-gen stealth bomber. Stay tuned for more updates this Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. On to the UK. Security cover has been tightened in the historic town of Windsor in Berkshire ahead of US President Donald Trump's state visit to Britain. Ahead of Trump's visit, the streets in the royal town have been decked with US and UK flags. Donald Trump will arrive later on Tuesday and will be hosted by King Charles and Queen Camilla at the Windsor Castle in Berkshire on Wednesday, September 17th. He will be treated to the usual display of British royal pageantry, including a carriage tour in the castle and a lavish banquet. The US tech company Google said on Tuesday that it would make $6.8 billion in new investments into Britain ahead of US President Donald Trump's state visit. Google also announced the opening of a new data center close to London, designed to help meet growing demand for its AI-powered services like Google Cloud, Search, Maps and Workspace. The announcement will be seen as a boost for British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour government, which is hoping to attract private investment to grow a sluggish economy and regain momentum in the national opinion polls. US President Donald Trump sued the New York Times, 4 of its reporters and publisher Penguin Random House for at least $15 billion, claiming defamation and libel and citing reputational damage. This is what a Florida court filing has showed. Trump's suit cites a series of New York Times articles, one an editorial prior to the 2024 presidential election, which said that he was unfit for office, and a 2024 book published by Penguin titled Lucky Loser: How Donald Trump Squandered His Father's Fortune and Created the Illusion of Success. The publications have harmed Trump's business and personal reputation, thereby causing massive economic damage to his brand value and significant damage to his future financial prospects, Trump's lawyers said in the filing. In his post, Trump accused the paper of lying about him, his family and businesses, as well as Republican-led movements and ideologies such as that of America First movement and Make America Great Again, the MAGA movement. Meanwhile, the New York Times on Tuesday criticized the defamation lawsuit filed by Donald Trump as a brazen attempt to stifle journalism and silence independent reporting. India and the US have reinitiated bilateral trade talks in New Delhi following the late Monday night arrival of US Assistant Trade Representative Brendan Lynch. He's holding a meeting with India's chief trade negotiator, Rajesh Agrawal, who is also Special Secretary in the Department of Commerce. The discussions aim to advance the bilateral trade agreement launched in March 2025. Focused on resolving US tariffs on Indian goods and boosting trade in various sectors, including services and manufacturing, the negotiators are targeting a first phase deal by November. In the meeting today, both countries would try to make a basic framework of easing out tariffs imposed on each other's goods and services. Earlier, both countries had set a bilateral trade target of $500 billion by 2030. Prime Minister of Mauritius, Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam, called on President Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan on Tuesday. Both leaders agreed that the relations between the two countries are unique, rooted in our shared history, language, culture and values. The President expressed confidence that with the vast leadership experience of Prime Minister Ramgoolam, India-Mauritius long-standing bilateral ties will further strengthen in the times to come. Prime Minister of Mauritius also visited the new Parliament building in New Delhi. He also paid tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat and also paid a visit to Sadaiv Atal, the memorial of Bharat Ratna and former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Earlier, Prime Minister Ramgoolam also met the 15th Vice President of India, C.P. Radhakrishnan, at the Vice President's enclave. India's Culture and Tourism Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat announced that over 1,300 gifts received by Prime Minister Narendra Modi will go under the hammer from Tuesday in an online auction at pmmementos.gov.in. Addressing the 7th edition of the Prime Minister's Mementos e-auction in New Delhi, Shekhawat said the collection includes paintings, artifacts, sculptures, idols and sports memorabilia. The proceeds from the auction will fund the key government initiative Namami Gange mission. The minister also revealed that the previous edition had raised over 50 crore rupees for developmental efforts. On to weather updates now. In Himachal Pradesh, extremely heavy spell of rain in capital Shimla and surrounding areas has put life completely out of gear in the capital city. Heavy overnight rain triggered floods and landslides in and around Cart Road, the traffic artery of Shimla. Many vehicles, including buses, were swept away and shops were damaged. In southwestern Bilaspur's Ghumarvi subdivision, the Siar Khad river was flowing at its highest level today. Authorities continue to monitor the situation. In Dharamshala, a landslide blocked the Dharamshala-Kangra National Highway 503. Restorations are underway for the same. While in Uttarakhand, the weather department has issued a warning for heavy to very heavy rainfall in the 7 districts. In view of the heavy downpour, schools will remain closed in Nainital, Dehradun, Chamoli and other districts. Continuous rain in the state halted Kedarnath highway after a boulder crashed down amid the rain fury in Rudraprayag region. Due to the heavy rainfall, cloudburst occurred in Karligad Sahastradhara at night. Rescue and relief operation of the district administration continues. The district administration has shifted affected people to safer areas. In Uttarakhand's Dehradun, the road near Tons River Bridge was damaged and washed away due to the heavy rains in the region. In the spiritual town of Rishikesh, the water level of the Chandrabhaga river has risen significantly, raising concerns among locals and authorities alike. In sports news now, India's woman batter Smriti Mandhana reclaimed her #1 spot in the latest ICC one-day international rankings released on Tuesday. Mandhana overtook England skipper Nat Sciver-Brunt at the top of the rankings on the back of her half-century against Australia in the opening match in New Chandigarh. The innings helped Mandhana gain 7 rating points and move 4 points ahead of her English counterpart. The Indian vice-captain had held the #1 spot in 2019 and earlier this year as well. The top spot will boost Mandhana's confidence ahead of the World Cup, which starts on 30th of September. In the Asia Cup, Bangladesh captain Liton Das won the toss and elected to bat against Afghanistan in a high-stakes clash at the Asia Cup in Abu Dhabi. Bangladesh has made 4 changes in the playing 11, while Afghanistan has made no change. For Bangladesh, it's a must-win game. They opened with a victory over Hong Kong, but were handed a heavy defeat by Sri Lanka, which also hit their net run rate. Even if the Tigers beat Afghanistan, their qualification is not guaranteed. Should Afghanistan later upset Sri Lanka on September 18th, all 3 teams would end on 4 points, with the net run rate deciding who goes through. Meanwhile, Afghanistan would want to qualify for the next stage early on. A win against Bangladesh would book their place in the Super 4 and lift them to the top of the group, sparing them a nervous wait for the final group game. The International Cricket Council on Tuesday rejected Pakistan Cricket Board's demand to remove match referee Andy Pycroft from the panel of officials for the ongoing Asia Cup. PCB had filed a complaint with the ICC alleging that Pycroft asked Pakistan captain Salman Ali Agha at the time of the toss not to shake hands with his Indian counterpart, Surya Kumar Yadav. The ICC has cleared the air through an official letter. They explained that it was actually the Asian Cricket Council officials on the ground who informed Pycroft about the no handshake policy at the toss. In some sad news now, actor Robert Redford, a Hollywood screen legend turned director, producer and influential supporter of independent films, died on Tuesday at the age of 89. Once dismissed as just another California blonde, Redford's charm and craggy good looks made him one of the industry's most bankable leading men for half a century and one of the world's most recognizable and best-loved movie stars. Redford starred in Out of Africa, The Candidate, and All the President's Men, among other iconic films. Donald Trump paid tributes to the great actor. Industry great Meryl Streep also condoled Redford's demise. Spain's summer of 2025 was the country's hottest summer ever recorded since 1961, with the country experiencing more than a month of heat waves caused by climate change. The summer of 2025 was 2.1 degrees Celsius warmer than the 1991-2020 average and surpassed the previous warmest summer recorded in 2022 by 0.1 degrees. Spain experienced a 16-day heat wave in August that saw temperatures exceed 45 degrees Celsius in southern Spain. And Papua New Guinea marked 50 years of independence from Australia on Tuesday, with fireworks and a drone show ending the day of celebration. Britain's Prince Edward was also in attendance at the Independence Day celebrations of Papua New Guinea. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks air on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja. From all of us here in New Delhi, thank you for watching. Namaskar.